Started as we were thinking about this and talking about this, and as I was thinking about Braelyn sharing a testimony. Anytime that I think about a testimony, I really think about Paul, but I also think about there's this story in the book of Acts, and it's Peter and John, and so they just healed this lame man, and they stood before the council of the Sadducees, and they're commanding them not to spread any more of these, what they called rumors about Jesus, even though they're real. They were talking about Jesus. They said, hey, you can no longer go off and talk about this guy named Jesus anymore. You can't do it. And he says this, they said, whether it is right or wrong in the sight of God to listen to you rather than to God, you must judge. For we cannot but speak of what we have seen and heard. It's almost like, how can we not talk about Jesus? We've seen what he's done. We've experienced his goodness. We've experienced what he's done in our life. So how can we not share? And so when I think about that, when we share our testimony, I know that sharing a testimony can be hard. Because it's like, man, I don't want to show you my failures or tell you my failures or tell you what I've experienced in my life. But it's like, how can I not? Because what God brought me from is so amazing. And so I'm so excited tonight. I'm going to hand the mic over to Braelyn, let her share her testimony. And as we do this, I know that she doesn't want this to be about her. She just wants to say, hey, look what God did in my life. Not look what Braelyn did, but look what God did. Let's take it away.
My stomach is doing front flips, somersaults, and cartwheels at the moment, so please bear with me. I asked for a sign on Sunday before church. I go to Whittington Church, and Pastor Bob got up there, and do you guys know when pastors just grab you by the face and say, this is for you? I had one of those moments. His sermon was about rescued people rescue people. And he said something that really served me a hot slice of humble pie. He said, how much does your rescuing truly mean to you if you're not willing to share? Because to be honest, I didn't want to share this today. There's a lot of embarrassment. There's a lot of shame. But like Dustin said, it's not about me. It's about the evidence and miracles of what God does in our lives. So let's start from baby Braelyn. So when I was a kid, I actually grew up in San Diego, California. I am not from here. My dad was in the military. They moved all around the U.S., had my two older brothers, and then had me in California. So I went to this huge, amazing church. I remember growing up, and I had a super strong relationship with God. Just like the posters us girls had in 6th grade of I Heart Justin Bieber, I made posters that said I Heart Jesus and I Heart God as a kid. I would rollerblade around the cul-de-sac and just talk to God like he was my best friend. And believe it or not, my husband is going to laugh at this, and that's okay. I was incredibly shy, and I did not talk until I was 4. I'm making up for lost time, I know. And I've just always had this little gift. And I'm not trying to say that pridefully, as I do believe everyone here has a certain gift from God. But a gift of inner knowing, dreams, I guess it'd be a discerning gift. So this also came with struggling to make friends and connections at this age. So I always kind of had this sense of abandonment and feeling like I'd always be left behind. So around the age of 10, my family is from here. My dad retired from the military, go Navy, beat Army. And I was so excited to finally move here and finally get the horse I always wanted. We started at a very small church here. I'm going to be very blunt. It was extremely conservative and very judgmental. It felt like the Salem witch trials. We were pointing fingers. We were saying who was bad, who didn't belong in the pews. And going from a very spirit-led church, 10-year-old me didn't get this. And it felt very rule-booky. And I just remember asking questions in Sunday school like, I don't understand, why am I supposed to hate these people? Now we obviously know we're not supposed to. And just hearing all of this hateful stuff, I was like, I don't get this. And I remember just being pretty well told that my gift from a very young age was demonic. My relationship that I had with God was wrong. I had no connection and I had no faith. And that really triggered a sense of abandonment in me that I already struggled with. I thought, why would God do this to me? Why was I born wrong? If I'm demonic, then I'm just going to go to hell. And that was really hard for a little girl to hear. I had a lot of anxiety around this. I remember laying awake at night, praying the rapture wouldn't come, because if it did, we're already starting this, I would be left by my parents. So I continued going to this church, and I just got more and more distant from God. I played the role, sat in the pew, and didn't really listen. Years went on, and it was actually my now freshman year of high school. I think a lot of girls have experienced when they've turned down a guy, it's not always the best feedback. There was a guy that wanted to date me, and I said no. I wanted to date that Susser boy sitting in that front pew right there, who I married. Amen. This person and his friends felt very strongly about the rejection. So they called me for weeks on end at night, and they told me explicitly how I should go kill myself. I won't go into too much more detail about that bullying because it doesn't necessarily matter, but I went home crying a lot. I suffered my first ever wave of true depression at the time. And what people don't understand is if you have no faith or relationship with God and you're going through this, it is a wide open door for nasty spiritual stuff to happen to you. So this would begin with me waking up at 3:33 on the dot every night to seeing this little freaky things at the foot of my bed. They were 3 entities. I won't describe them, name them, any of that. I'm going to protect your ears. But they were reaffirming me that I should absolutely go kill myself, just like these guys were calling me, telling me. The sleep paralysis was really bad. I would have things crawl up me, scream in my face, look at me, severe nightmares. It was awful. And I asked God, I said, please remove them. And nothing happened at the time, unfortunately. So this just turned me even further away from God. The silver lining during this is I finally found my voice. And I do believe that we are supposed to go through really hard times. And God helps us transmute that into something beautiful. I don't think I'd have the business I do now or the voice I have to stick up for people who are undergoing bullying if I didn't experience it. So I'm very grateful for that. Years went on, and the beginning of college happened. I was going to Ren Lake for a year and then transferring to Murray State. A lot of my friends in here can tell you, Braelyn and Change, we ain't homies. So my anxiety was really high, a lot of uncertainty. I was also drinking like a very dehydrated fish at the time, so just not letting a lot of good in. So again, this attracted more spiritual torment, and I was still so mad at God for not removing it. Why is this not being taken away from me? I don't understand. Why have you left me? And yeah, not a great feeling. But I remember I was driving to a friend's house one day, and I was on my phone. Yes, sorry. And I saw a YouTube video about crystals. And I was super intrigued. This video showed me the types of crystals I should buy to deter any spiritual attack and to enlighten my space. So I thought, God's not doing it. I'm going to take this into my own hands. And I went and purchased a couple crystals. And life did get better for a bit. The nightmares subsided. My anxiety was better. My room felt safer. And it would get better for a couple months, and then to go back to bad. So then that turned into, I need incense, and I need to buy sage to clear the space and to bring in better energy. And again, it would work, and then it'd just get right back to bad. So I was convinced, okay, this is kind of working. It's time to dive even deeper. Bad decision, by the way. Very bad. So I started treating this kind of like a hygiene or even discipline practice. Like I need to do this daily to maintain this. So I started lighting, I'm gonna do a lot of air quotes, protection candles. I was praying to angels. They weren't angels. I was practicing law of attraction and manifesting my dream life. But I, of course, didn't think I was doing anything wrong because this was all pretty on paper. It didn't look nasty. It didn't look evil. And I also thought, as a lot of people do that are lukewarm, this is how I'm connecting with God in my own way. Playing with gray area pretty heavily. So after about a year of this, I transferred to Murray State University. Go Racers, loved it there. And this was a time in my life where I actually felt very included, very liberated, very happy in my life. And that was cut short due to COVID. Not to be too dramatic, but I was devastated. I really, really loved college. So I returned home, and this is when I bought my first tarot deck. I don't know if you guys all know what all this stuff is. I hope you don't, because that's a good sign. But this is what a lot of psychic readers, all this use, where they shuffle the cards to get messages. And I bought this deck to consult my higher self, so my most healed self. And I was consulting Archangel Michael and all of these spiritual beings that I was researching upon.
And there's different types of tarot cards, right? Like if you go to the deck, there's like different things.
Oh yeah,
right?
There's 52 cards in it, and there's different representations in it. And there's also like oracle cards and stuff too. So one day, I asked my cards, I said, do I have any guardian angels around me? And I got cards to signify I had 3 women around me. And they represented 3 parts of me: my childlike side, my anxious side, and my healed, wise side. So pretty much like my past, my present, and my future. And it felt very good. I was like, okay, this is neat.
Okay. So when you said you asked the cards, like
Mm-hmm.
how did that work? Like what was that process like? And then how did you like get that answer or get those cards? You know, you said
Shuffle. Everyone did it differently. But you just shuffle and you just ask out loud. You try to get in a meditative space of just being clear to where you feel like you can hear Spirit's voice. And you just shuffle, and whatever cards fly out is what you get.
I see. Okay.
Everyone did it differently, though. But if you haven't noticed here, I keep getting 3s. A lot of 3s in this situation, too. And I thought, okay, the 3, that's good, because angel numbers. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of angel numbers or have seen somebody post 1111, 444, all of that. That's demonic, in case anyone needed to know. So I thought this was good. This was high vibrational. It was good. It was just spiritual. I'm still not wrong, I thought.
Like it felt good. Like
Yes.
all of this just felt really good. Like you were
So
on high.
good. And also the sense of abandonment that I told you I touched on, I felt like I was like, oh, this gift I have, it actually isn't bad because I'm using it in this way, but it was wrong. So I went back to school to be an esthetician. Praise God. That was such a God thing. And I took my first job. My first job was at this place, and it was heavily saturated in New Age. And I'm actually just going to be done calling it New Age. It's witchcraft. We'll just call it what it is. We're not going to BS around with that anymore. And I felt at home because this is something I was into. And I was like, nobody really gets me. This is going to be awesome. Took the job, and we took a company outing to a massage place. And this massage place, she also did spiritual readings. And I was like, yeah, that sounds ripping cool. Let's go. So we went, and before we did the massage, she says, is there anything you would like to know as I'm working on you today? And I said, I just want to know if you feel as if I have something around me watching out for me. I didn't tell her about the tarot card reading, about the 3 women. I told her nothing. She didn't know my last name. She knew nothing about me. We got to the end of the massage, and she said, you have 3 women that are around you, and they represent different parts of you. They were my actual ancestors. And by the way, I looked this up on Ancestry, and they really were my ancestors. She had it on the dot. They were family names, and they represented the three parts that I discussed earlier: past, present, future, my healed side, my childlike side, and then also my present side, which was very anxious. She also informed me that these women had suffered from a lot of abandonment for their spiritual practices, and that's why I have felt such a sense of abandonment since I've been a little girl. And I didn't tell her this, by the way. And this woman was just calling every insecurity I have ever had out. And she looked at me and she said, "You're here in this lifetime to heal this generational trauma. You also store this trauma in your stomach." And I was having really bad stomach problems at the time. Again, she did not know that. So it all aligned perfectly. Instead of me running, I thought, that is really cool. And this is accurate. Awesome. So, sorry. Yes, I felt and the gift thing, my head just blew up. I became so prideful about my gift. It was me, I, everything. So anytime I felt like my home was off spiritually, such as hearing footsteps at night, my dog growling at nothing. You can ask my husband, my dog doesn't growl at anything. So it was odd. Or severe nightmares. I called upon these ancestors. I was like, you can help me. You're all around me. You know everything about me. I left them offerings. I told them everything about me, my trauma, how I felt that day, everything. I talked to them like I should be talking to God. Oh. This story is hard to tell, I'm sorry. But this, again, was okay, right? I wasn't worshiping the devil. I wasn't worshiping Satan. I thought this was okay. And about a year later, I had another reading from a different reader. She didn't know anything about me, and she pointed out the three ancestors as well. And she said they're from Ireland, and she was right, they're from Ireland. It's in my lineage. And she said that they honored a saint. I am not going to list this saint. I'm not going to put that in your ears. And I was like, cool. And the saint represented the triple meaning as well. She was over the number 3. She was also associated with the color red. An acronym for my ancestors' names was red. So it all just made sense to me. And I also thought it's okay to honor this saint because people in the Catholic faith do that, which was wrong. I've looked up this saint, and it was actually an Irish goddess converted to a saint during like the St. Patrick's conversion stuff when he converted everything. And she has no little history in Catholic faith, so no shade to Catholic faith or anything. I felt this push after this to dive even deeper. I was already deep, but let's swim, girl. And I started partaking in what's called shadow work. It was created by a psychologist named Carl Jung, however you say it. And it had actual scientific backing on it, but a lot of spiritual people were getting into it. And it's where you go through all your insecurities, your trauma, and it's supposed to heal your inner child, ultimately. And I was experiencing heavy binge drinking at this time. I mean, I could outdrink an army. It was terrible. And I thought, you know what? Let me test these waters. And also the saint was over healing. I forgot to include it. I'm sorry. I said, I'm going to see if the saint can heal me. Let me give this to them. And I did. And my drinking got exponentially better, way better. But with that, because there's always a compromise or a catch, my sleep got so bad again, so bad. And that is when I was introduced to a substance called cannabis and or marijuana, weed, pot, whatever you want to call it. And I thought, okay, I could do this a couple nights a week to help with my anxiety. and sleep. So I was doing it for a couple nights a week, just for a few months. If you haven't noticed, a lot of this was very slippery. It was a few months at a time. And started doing about 2 nights a week. And then a few months later, every night of the week. A few months later, every night before dinner. Because guess what? Your food tastes better. Everything felt better with it. And then this spiraled probably a year later into smoking all day, every day. Sundays were my wake and bake days. I'm being very vulnerable here. I had never struggled with porn use before, but to be frank, weed makes you horny. So I was reading a lot of spicy books. I was watching a lot of pornography, and just wide open door to the Jezebel spirit without knowing it. I became obsessed with the concept of sex and thought that was the only way I could feel love out of my marriage. I was blind to all the beauty in my marriage and began to resent my husband. I wasn't looking at his kind words to me anymore. I wasn't looking at his loyalty to me anymore. I literally had blinders on, and I thought the only way I can feel love is through sex. And the devil knew what he was doing, because at this point in time, it's Chase's busiest season. He's gone all the time. So the devil definitely had intentions on what he was doing. With smoking weed also comes the munchies. If anyone in here has ever been overcome with this, you feel very out of control with your eating. But I wasn't drinking as much, so I gave myself grace to eat my calories because I wasn't drinking my calories. Gluttony and I became really close, and with this, I started to notice some weight gain, and I started to hyperfixate on my body again. It triggered the feeling of when I was bullied in high school for my body again. So I began to make myself vomit after any sweet treat I had, which was nightly. And this slowly turned into a full-blown, uncontrollable eating disorder, where even when I didn't want to vomit, my body just would. It became acclimated to it. Satan was stripping me of literally what would keep me alive: food, water, and sleep. So what did I do? I turned to my spirit team, and they can help me heal this, right? I mean, they healed my drinking. They can heal this. And I was told I need to dive even deeper. If you haven't noticed, there's never enough in this with this. It's never enough. You have to continue going. So smoking more all the time. Smoking to get clearer messages. I was smoking before meditations around healing, going back to old traumatic moments that I've already been over, but I was told to keep going over them and replaying them in my head. And I thought I was healing these moments, but it actually just made me resent the people who did these things to me. And I was just overcome with rage, resentment, unforgiveness. The most negative lens you could possibly have on the earth is what I had. I was angry at the world, angry at myself, and I was mad that I didn't seek harsher justice on these people. And then that would melt into, I'm remembering moments that I'm not proud of. And I began to resent myself. I was smoking so much weed at the time. I don't say that with pride. It just blows my mind. And I was becoming paranoid from this. This heavy use went on for over a year. I had so much paranoia due to all this consumption that I had thoughts of someone breaking into my home, raping and killing me every day. Any noise in my house, I was panicking all the time. I felt this at work all the time. I was on constant edge and defense. I did not feel real. Now I know this is called depersonalization and derealization, which comes from very intense cannabis use. I would come out of my body and just not believe anything was real all the time. Who am I? My emotions, were numbed. I had no more natural dopamine. Nothing gave me happiness. Nothing. The only thing that gave me happiness was getting higher and higher and higher to feel happy. When I attempted to quit smoking, my anxiety was through the roof. I would grind my teeth in my sleep so hard, I've chipped multiple teeth. I'd wake up caked in sweat. My nightmares were insane. But this was my new norm. I couldn't get rid of this, so I thought, this is just a new me. There's no going back now. The thoughts of something happening to me spiraled into, what if I accidentally hurt someone else? What if I leave my house and hit somebody walking across the road? What if I hurt someone at my job by accident during a service? This one really sucks. And worst of all, what if I hurt my future baby? I just knew in my head that I would get severe postpartum depression. And what if I do the unthinkable that you hear of happening? I'm screwed up in the head. I definitely cannot become a mother one day, I thought to myself. I actually went to therapy about all this, and nothing changed. My therapist had no words. She did not understand, why are you turning in on yourself? I don't know. She says, you're one of the most protective people I've ever met, but you're turning on yourself, and nobody can understand. So I chose to isolate. I never wanted to leave the house. I went from a very bright, outgoing, outspoken person to, I need to lock myself up. I didn't go see friends and family much. I just stayed where I felt everyone was safe from me. The suicidal ideations became rampant, especially the beginning of this year. I thought I was protecting myself and everyone around me, and I just thought the world is so hurtful. If I leave my home, someone's going to hurt me, and I'm going to become even more rageful, and I might hurt someone else. By the way, I've never hurt anyone, just so everyone knows. This part's awful. So I just thought to myself, I need to do the world a favor and just die. I felt like a ticking time bomb of something horrific about to happen. I told myself I would continue therapy and possibly go back on antidepressants. I said I'd give it a little bit longer, and if nothing changed, I had a plan on how I would remove myself from this world. I had the suicide hotline on my phone just in case. A part of my soul wanted to be here, but I felt so much dread, I kept saying constantly, I can't live like this anymore, because I couldn't. My husband locked all the guns up in the safe, changed the code. I had him afraid. I scared my family. I felt constant conflicting guilt and self-victimizing emotions at the same time. Can't describe that. The spiritual warfare was absolutely insane. I had a dream where I was being attacked in my sleep. I knew it was a demon. I screamed for my spirit team, nothing. I screamed for everyone, nothing. The demon was laughing at me. And then I screamed, why not try this? Jesus, save me. As this dark figure was consuming me, this white light pushed this demon away. Sorry. It didn't come through swinging. It wasn't cussing. It wasn't yelling. It was loving and peaceful. It didn't need rage to drive this away. It didn't need unforgiveness, and it didn't need anger. It was beautiful. I, however, was none of those things. I was angry, resentful, and lacked peace. I woke up and was conflicted. I told myself I am too far away from God to return. It's getting good soon, I promise. The three entities on my spirit team that once were liberating, peaceful, and healing were now violent, rageful, and animalistic. I saw them for what they truly were. My abandonment went through the roof. I felt so betrayed. I had no one. I had isolated myself from everyone, and I don't even have the spiritual team anymore. They were supposed to help me heal this generational trauma of suicide, addiction, anxiety, depression, but here I was, entangled in all of these things. Satan had me in the palm of his hand. I felt like a worthless idiot. I had 2 clients come into my job at the time. They're sitting here tonight, Amber and Seth. And they had something I didn't in my heart, Jesus. They spoke to me in such a way that made me want to be just like them. This woman and husband, Seth and Amber, had seen and been through it all and made me realize I was not alone or a victim anymore. She told me I had this gift, I just wasn't using it properly. It was being used in a worldly sense, and it could be something beautiful to blossom in God's name. On our first appointment, they honestly triggered something in me that made me angry. I wasn't mad at them and couldn't register why I was so mad. My body felt angry, but my head didn't. Weirdest thing. It was literally like my spirit was fighting my flesh, or as if I literally had an entity in me that did not want to hear any of this. But they had my attention and I was willing to listen. I am forever grateful for them, and I now consider them my mentors and friends, of course. Okay. On July 15th of this year, day I'll never forget, I came home from work. I had a client cancel for the last half of my day, and I decided to go home. I was in my kitchen, and I could see the 3 entities that were once my beautiful spirit team out of the corner of my eyes. They were yet again taunting me. This was a regular occurrence. At this point, it wasn't just at night when they came through, but during the day. I remembered my plan from earlier this year and thought of the bottle of I'm going to get it out, I promise. I thought of the bottle of painkillers in my cabinet. I had spent many nights waking up and holding these in my hand, wondering if it would hurt to go out this way. I remembered the few nights before this day when I begged for it all to end in my car and drove 90 on a gravel road and fishtailed out of control, but instantly regretted it when my husband's phone number popped up on my Bluetooth. But during this moment, I felt this insane feeling of fire under me and that this was now a severe emergency. There's no more time. There's no more dilly-dallying. Something has to be done. I had no control over myself anymore. If I could explain it and alarms could have went off, they would have. But I felt this need to run into my living room, get on my knees, and ask God for forgiveness. If he didn't accept me, I genuinely did not think he would. Then at least I tried one last thing. I was pacing my kitchen. This is going to sound like a movie. And there was popping, knocking, and slamming noises going on throughout my house, especially in the living room that I knew I needed to run into. I was so scared to do it. I was pacing my kitchen with my hands over my ears for these noises, and I was saying, stop it, stop it, stop it. Please leave me alone. You've got what you want. Please stop, stop, stop. They didn't have what they wanted because I wasn't dead yet. I finally, thank you, Jesus, mustered up that courage, and I ran in that living room. The lights were flickering in my house. It wasn't storming. I got down on my knees and I said out loud, here I am. I'm ready. Please, please, please take me back in. I am so sorry. He really is the Prince of Peace. This overwhelming sense of peace overcame me from behind. I want you to imagine a hug that you've gotten from a grandparent where you feel small and safe again. That times, I can't even describe, a gazillion. The safest feeling I have ever felt in my life. There's no words. The 3 entities left. immediately. It only takes one name. And in my head, the Lord was showing me all the actions I had been partaking in and what I was actually doing. I wasn't scared to see this anymore, though. I wasn't, because I was safe now. God is so good, y'all. I then heard in my head, Braelyn, you are my child. You've been forgiven. Now go walk in my name. I collapsed on the floor. I'm not much of a crier, so this was really healing for me, but I cried, and I cried, and I cried. Little me felt so safe again to just let it all out. And it was, amazing. Years of torment left my body. Unforgiveness left my body. And suicide left my body. It was gone. I sat up, and I just heard in my head, you need to look out your front window. And I sat up and I looked out. This is July 15th, so the corn was all up in our yard, tall and green. And right by the corn, landed in my yard, was a rainbow. And there was a mama doe in the rainbow just looking at me. That was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen in my entire life. And that just makes me so grateful that God said, my daughter, you're going to see this in heaven one day, and it's going to be even better. Things were beautiful again. It was truly a Saul to Paul moment. I had new glasses on, y'all, and I threw out the old ones. Deuces, bye. The next day, I went to do my usual smoking in the morning, and all this time, I never thought I could give it up. It repulsed me to hold it. I didn't want it anymore. I looked at all my spiritual tools and felt sick. I threw out thousands of dollars of new age stuff out of my home. I realized this had encapsulated my entire space. It was years of a slippery slope. I haven't touched cannabis, I haven't watched porn, and I haven't had a bulimic spell since July 15th. To conclude, my testimony is very intense, and the reason I share it is because this all just started with the shiny rock. There's a lot of counterfeits in this world. You don't have to worship Satan to be right by his side. You just have to be apart from God. And also, on paper, my life looked like a shiny rock. I had a healthy marriage, lived in an okay home, ran a successful business, just everything was good. But I was in the grave. I was involved in witchcraft and didn't know it. I wasn't standing in a pentagram with a cloak sacrificing a chicken, but I was involved. These things are very beautiful and very normalized. We are so weak without our God, so weak. But with him, we have the utmost authority to say, you get out of my home to these things. Now, we stay on guard and we don't fall for counterfeits. My advice to everyone here, stay away from the gray area. Gray area is not neutral. Gray area is a stepping stone to complete darkness. Gray area is 1 foot in the grave. Gray area is steps away from our God, and that is not where we want to be. Gray area had me straight on the path to the gates of hell. I was constantly compromising as to why what I was doing was okay. Our God does not compromise. He's greater than that. He leaves no room for interpretation. And another thing, we're going to roast Satan a little bit. He is not to be feared when you have God. He's manipulative. He's a liar. He's a coward. And he can't pick on someone his own size because he did that once and he got yeeted out of heaven, y'all. Okay? He ain't that great. So don't settle for the biggest pick-me in all of generations. Make sure to choose the greatest I am. He will never lead you astray. Thank you, guys.
That was good. That was good. I think of a verse that says, even Satan masquerades like an angel of light, because that's what he does. It didn't start out as this this dark thing. It didn't start out of this thing. What he does is he makes it seem like it's, hey, this is shiny. Come do this. Come do this. This is good for you. What's good for you? I got your back. And then you end up with all of these things because that's what he does. He's run this scorched earth strategy. Whatever it takes to throw you offside, that's what he's going to do. And so that's why we got to know this book. That's why we got to be able to know and be able to stand up against that stuff and drag it to the light. The things that you have going on that's hidden in the darkness, Satan wants to keep it in the dark. Satan does not want Braelyn to share this right now. And I know right now there's some of you that are doubting this and be like, yeah, right, she didn't see any of this, she didn't do that, she didn't do any of this. Dude, it's real. Like, spiritual attacks is real. It's real. And I'm so grateful and thankful that God has used. I mean, I'm a duct cleaner, right? We clean air ducts, and there's been 3 instances this year where we've experienced this stuff. And beforehand, I'd been like, yeah, I don't know, Braelyn, I don't know what you're talking about. And now God's opened my eyes, like, no, this is real stuff. This is real stuff. And I know that a lot of us, maybe some of us that's always grown up in church are like, okay, yeah, that's not true, but it is. It is, and so we have to be on guard, and we have to be able to know that and point to him. And I'm so grateful for you and thankful for your testimony, because there's a lot of people out here that maybe